Hi there. So in this video I'm going to talk about healing the goddess, and I'm going to be telling a story that I've told in a couple of other videos already, but due to various quality issues they didn't come out quite as well as I would have wanted. So I thought that I would tell this story again. For one thing, it's just a very powerful and very important story to be told, and also I'm going to add a little bit more to it. So this comes from the Right Use of Will series of books by Cianda Rohan, which is a series of 8 different channeled books that tell the story of the creation of the universe, basically, from many different angles and many different aspects of what that means. And so I'm just going to be telling the basic fundamental beginning of the universe, of what actually created the universe that we know it, of all these myriad stars and planets and different beings. So in the beginning, then God was one, and God was basically just a pulsating, vibrating ball of light and love who knew nothing of separation and was simply experiencing the bliss of being. And so all aspects of God, meaning God, goddess, and other parts of God, were all unified as one and experiencing complete oneness. But God grew tired of this and wanted to have a different kind of experience. He was curious, she was curious, what is outside of me? What is it like to be separated from me? What is in the darkness as opposed to myself being the light? And so God, in mutual agreement among all aspects, in particular between God and goddess, agreed to have an experience of separation in order to understand what that meant, what that felt like, in order to experience that contrast of separation versus oneness. And so what this would entail is that God, the masculine aspect, would separate from goddess, the feminine aspect, and cast the feminine feeling element out into the darkness, basically sort of to report back, what does it feel like out there? What does it feel like to be separated from me? And so God basically separated from his feminine aspect, his will, and sent the will, the feminine element, flying off into the darkness in order to have that experience and let the spirit, the upper chakra, masculine aspect, know what does that feel like? What is it like outside of me? And so what the feminine element experienced was a absolutely terrible, horrifying, very frightening experience of flying off in the darkness, separated from the light of God, which she needed to live, and having no preparation for what this might be like. Then it was just, utter fear and feeling as if she was basically dying, being separated from the light of God. She had this absolutely terrifying, terrible experience. Meanwhile, the masculine aspect of God had an exact polar opposite experience, which is that the masculine element basically experienced nothing. It was as if he had gone to sleep, because he had no feeling and was completely disconnected from feeling, and so had absolutely no clue of what the feminine had just experienced, and didn't care, had no empathy or compassion, because he didn't feel anything. So the masculine was basically left no longer feeling the love and bliss that he had been experiencing when unified, but he didn't feel anything, and he didn't really care at that point. So meanwhile, the goddess, the feminine, is having this terrible experience of sort of struggling away in the darkness and trying to stay alive in the course of being separated. And so the masculine is basically experiencing these little sort of rumblings somewhere off in the distance of something unpleasant happening, but he has no clue what the feminine is experiencing. He's basically forgotten, his original nature. And so he pushes these unpleasant feelings away because he doesn't want to feel unpleasantness. He doesn't want to feel pain and fear. He just wants to be in, a state of light and bliss that he, believes he is what he should experience. And so he pushes away the efforts of the feminine to call to him and try to bring things back together in oneness. So that, in a nutshell, sums up the action that propelled the separation of the universe. So the feminine energy is the magnetic energy, and that is what holds things together. So without the magnetic energy there to hold God together, God started to fracture and split off into different pieces. And so that which was at one time just one unified being of consciousness began splitting off and flying off into the universe in different pieces of God, different aspects of God, basically just kind of flying off into the universe, separate. All of them having their own particular experience of separation from being connected to the unified God that had once been. And so the feminine is calling to the masculine to try to bring things back together. And the masculine is trying to keep things separate because he doesn't want to experience the unpleasant feelings of the feminine. And that, in a nutshell, sums up the fundamental core difference between the masculine and the feminine, which is that the feminine is instinctively trying to bring things back together, and the masculine is trying to keep things separate and apart because he doesn't want to experience those feelings. He's scared of them. He doesn't know how to handle them. He doesn't know what it means. He feels like he's drowning in the deep feelings of the feminine. So that is kind of the foundation of the universe as we know it, is those fundamental polarities of the masculine and feminine, which we all experience. We all have some element of the masculine and the feminine within us. Of course, women polarize more towards the feminine and men tilt more towards the masculine.